It started as nothing more than routine observation. The James Webb Space Telescope, orbiting in deep space, was scanning a quiet patch above the Pacific. Just another sky survey. No red flags. No warnings. But then something emerged from the darkness. At first, it looked familiar, an odd, tumbling object reminiscent of Oumuamua, the interstellar visitor that passed through our solar system in 2017. That one moved fast, never stopped, and was gone before we had a chance to study it properly. This was different. This object didn't just pass through. It decelerated. It shifted trajectory. And then it stopped, completely. It didn't behave like anything we've seen. Natural objects don't do that. Comets don't stop. Asteroids don't turn around. Whatever this was, it had control. Intelligent control. Then the James Webb feed went dark. Abruptly. The live stream was cut off mid-frame. No announcement. No follow-up. And within minutes, the archived footage vanished from public servers. Silence. No explanations from NASA. But whispers began to spread, leaks from observatories in Chile and South Africa. The object, now referred to as Neo Umuamua, had assumed a stationary position above Earth's magnetic equator. A perfect geosynchronous orbit. No known object has ever parked in that location. Nothing natural should even be capable of it. What came next was worse. Just before the blackout, James Webb recorded a burst of electromagnetic pulses, brief but unmistakably structured. A sequence of prime numbers. Pulsed directly toward Earth's magnetosphere. Scientists immediately recognized it. It was premeditated. It anticipated us. Then came the ripple. On April 7, scientists at CERN detected a global magnetic wave. Not solar. Not geological. It lasted less than a second, but it was worldwide. Embedded within it were harmonic signatures, patterns that defied known physics. Hours later, something even stranger occurred. And yet, it sent something back. The timecodes lined up to the millisecond. Voyager didn't generate the signal. It was used, hijacked. Activated by an external force. Astrophysicist Brian Cox made headlines when he broke from the usual academic caution. He suggested this object might not be a probe at all, but a node. A silent monitor. A part of a network meant to watch, not engage. Observe until something changes, like us reaching a specific level of technology. Controlled nuclear fusion. Eye expansion. Deep space imaging. Perhaps those were the thresholds. Perhaps we just crossed one. And that's when it noticed us. It never needed to land. It never needed to announce itself. Because it was never waiting for permission. This wasn't first contact. It was surveillance. The kind that's been active longer than we've been recording history. What really terrifies the scientific community isn't that this thing is here. It's that it may have always been here. Not this exact object, but others. A system. A network. Passive, invisible, perfectly adapted to stay hidden. Until now. Leaked memos from ESA and NASA suggest this wasn't a surprise internally. In fact, internal reports show unusual orbital data around Saturn detected months before the official Neo Umuamua sighting. Infrared anomalies, strange heat signatures from the Oort cloud. One report, marked Echo 9, detailed erratic energy patterns approaching the outer solar system. But no alerts were issued. No warnings. Just silence. Why? One sentence in an ESA internal email said it all. The public cannot process what we're seeing. Instead, the data was buried. Suppressed. They waited. Until the object was no longer ignorable. Until it pulsed, hovered, and parked in our skies. Now, the silence has become impossible to maintain. Telescopes trained on Neo Umuamua are malfunctioning. Instruments lose focus. Sensors degrade. Positional drift corrupts coordinates. Every effort to directly observe the object ends in failure. But atmospheric sensors on Earth tell a different story. Pressure fluctuations over Brazil. Temperature anomalies in Ghana. Something is moving. Entering and exiting the atmosphere. No visible craft. No sound. But something is there. And thermal imaging has confirmed it, localized heat zones forming in impossible symmetry. This suggests shielding. Regulation. Intention. According to further leaked documents, NASA is calling it non-ballistic movement. That term is reserved for one thing: controlled flight. It's not drifting. It's not falling. It's watching. Learning. Adapting. And worst of all, it's been doing so for days, possibly longer. Without uttering a single word. There's now growing belief in classified scientific circles that we've triggered something. A protocol. A test. Or worse, a countdown. The kind that doesn't begin until a species becomes capable of noticing what was never meant to be seen. A verdict is coming. But whose? Because we didn't find them. They found us. A long time ago. And only now have they allowed themselves to be noticed. And maybe that's the final phase, not an arrival, but a shift in status. Maybe the observation period is ending. And the next phase is about to begin. No official statement has been made. NASA remains silent. High-resolution ionospheric maps revealed that the object's new position coincided exactly with one of Earth's most intense magnetic convergence zones, a place where electromagnetic lines fold and twist into a vortex-like shape. Scientists theorized this region could function like a natural amplifier or antenna, capable of transmitting or receiving signals on a scale we barely understand. That alone was cause for concern. But taken together with the structured pulses, synchronized electromagnetic fluctuations, and the object's seemingly calculated repositioning, it painted a far stranger picture. This was no accident. Neo Umuamua hadn't just entered our space. It was interacting with it. A recently leaked think tank report, originally classified and authored by a joint panel of astrophysicists, cryptographers, and theoretical physicists, proposes a radical new explanation for this event. The theory is known as the veil hypothesis. According to this idea, our universe is surrounded by invisible thresholds, layers of spacetime where the laws of physics begin to behave differently. These thresholds, or veils, aren't physical barriers but conceptual ones, barriers of knowledge, technology, and perception. Civilizations, the theory goes, don't just evolve, they awaken. And when a species crosses one of these invisible layers, when it becomes capable of manipulating quantum information, generating gravitational anomalies or producing exotic matter, something watches. Under this framework, Neo Umuamua isn't a ship, a probe, or a message. It's a buoy. A quiet, passive marker placed near planetary systems that begin to make noise in the right frequencies. It waits in silence, perhaps for centuries, until it detects the telltale signs of awareness. Signs that we've pierced the veil. The structured pulses, electromagnetic echoes, and local gravitational distortions all suggest that the object isn't here to study us. It's here to confirm we've reached a milestone. We've passed through some kind of galactic checkpoint. And now something, somewhere, knows. Even more unsettling is the latest data interpretation from a group of engineers and signal analysts working independently on telemetry from Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. These experts believe that Neo Umuamua is part of a much larger system, one that has remained invisible not because it's too far or too small, but because we've been inside of it all along. Their simulations propose a mesh, a kind of lattice that surrounds star systems like ours in three-dimensional space. This mesh isn't made of metal or matter, but of subtle distortions in gravitational and electromagnetic fields. Like a net that doesn't trap you, it listens to you. We were blind to this net, they argue, because our technology wasn't advanced enough to disturb it. But over the past decade, as we've pushed deeper into quantum computing, launched AI systems into orbit, and begun generating measurable gravity waves in laboratories, we've started to make ripples. And now, finally, the mesh has responded. Neo Umuamua, in this interpretation, isn't here to investigate us. It's reflecting us back to ourselves. Like a mirror in the sky. A cosmic diagnostic tool scanning us to see what we've become. What happens next is a question no one can answer. Does the object report back? Does it trigger a new layer of surveillance? Or is it simply here to observe and evaluate before a decision is made elsewhere? Scientists are divided. Some believe this is the beginning of a quiet contact, a slow unraveling of cosmic attention now focused on Earth. Others aren't so optimistic. They worry that the silence of the object isn't neutral. It's loaded with intent. For generations, humanity imagined itself as the pioneer species, exploring the stars, sending signals into the dark, listening for replies. But as Neo Umuamua lingers above us, perfectly still once more, it forces us to consider an entirely different narrative. One where we are not the explorers. We are the experiment. For all our data collection, satellite tracking, and deep field imaging, we may have failed to recognize the simplest truth. Something was already here, watching, waiting, listening. The James Webb Space Telescope did more than just detect an odd shape with an unusual trajectory. It may have pulled back a curtain. It might have glimpsed the edge of a system we've been part of without knowing it. And now that the curtain has shifted, even slightly, we are no longer in the dark. We're under the light. The object hasn't attacked. It hasn't moved again. It doesn't need to. Because what it came to find, it already has, us. In whispers behind closed doors, at international space agencies and military briefings, one question is now asked more than any other. What is the silence saying? For silence, after all, is rarely empty. Sometimes it is deliberate. Sometimes it is the pause before something far greater begins. And sometimes, it is the answer we were never meant to receive. Neo Umuamua's presence raises a chilling possibility. What if our technological awakening triggered an audit? What if civilizations are not welcomed into the galactic community, but evaluated, examined, judged? And what if we're not the first to be studied this way? Maybe other species reached this point, crossed the veil, disturbed the mesh, triggered the mirror, and were met not with contact, but consequence. Maybe the universe doesn't broadcast signals because it doesn't need to. Maybe it listens. Patiently. Quietly. Until it doesn't. The idea that we are now being measured, not by our progress but by our potential danger, reframes everything. It means our messages, our AI transmissions, even our cultural broadcasts are no longer just signals into the dark. They're data points. Evidence. A record of what humanity is, and what we might become. And so we arrive at the question that keeps scientists awake, keeps engineers rewiring their instruments, keeps governments scrambling to decipher classified readings. What is Neo Umuamua really waiting for? A reply? A signal from us? Or is it simply watching, endlessly recording, until some cosmic threshold is met?